AI tends to amplify the underlying bias, right? So
Yeah.
one of my obsessions in kind of the problem solving innovation space is this bias of satisficing or being satisfied by that which is good enough, right? Herbert Simon.
Hmm.
And humans tend to just to settle, right? Which is fine most of the time, but when you're trying to innovate, it's actually that's a problematic cognitive bias. And what AI does is it gets somebody to mediocre much more quickly. And so if you're the kind of person who's going to settle for mediocre, AI is your enemy. However,
Yeah.
if you're the kind of person who's going to push for exceptional, you've never had a better thought partner than AI, right? Which is to say, it amplifies what's underneath. And I think with
Sure.
cognitive offloading, I get this question all the time in keynotes. What about cognitive offloading? And to me, what I always say is it's going to make you more of what you want to be. If you want to be lazy, it will help you be far lazier than ever.
That'll be
But to your
me.
point, no, you don't, Henrik. You definitely don't. Ryan, to your point, if you want a thorough teardown of where this paragraph sags, it will be more brutal than your most brutal human editor, right? Because in a sense, it's a mirror of your underlying desire. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's right. And like, look, if you're going to be satisfied with the first thing that you found from ChatGPT, you're probably the same person who was just satisfied with whatever Google kicked up 5 years ago, right? So
Right.
whether your base AI answer is better than your base Wikipedia answer, I suppose is interesting, and you could compare them side by side. But basically, the person who's going to settle or takes things at first glance or doesn't question appearances, they're going to be doing this either way, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so,
Yeah.
in a way, what's interesting for me, having I started as a research assistant for a great writer, and I watched him, sort of throw out most of what I brought to him because it either it wasn't good enough or he had enough prior knowledge to know, hey, that wasn't accurate. And watching him be so diligent, I worked for this great writer named Robert Greene. Watching him be so exacting and diligent in how it worked obviously shaped me in working for him, and then as a writer, and then it's something I try to implement with the research assistants that I use. And then now, as you bring sort of AI into the toolkit, it's the same thing. It's like, hey, this answer is interesting, but like, show me what it's from. I don't just want this quote. I want to see the context in which the quote is. Oh, okay. Actually, it's from a book, and now I'm looking at the book and I trust the author and okay, I'm going to use this. And then it's like, oh, no, no, this is actually a quote that you just found from A to Z quotes.com and isn't actually real. Or actually, the author, the person saying it meant something very different than what the sort of perverted understanding of it means. So one of the things you just learn is that like the research that people can surface for you or the things that people track down for you, it's really just like the first in a several step process before any of that can actually be used.